Welcome to the Best Damn Sports Show podcast. I am Best Damn Sports Show producer Jason Cahill, and with me today is one of our other producers and probably the Mark DeRosa of the Best Damn Sports Show, being a utility player, kind of does it all, Bernie Kim.
Oh, thanks, Jason. I appreciate that.
No problem. Have you ever been called the Mark DeRosa of anything?
No, I can't say that I have.
Yeah, I know.
Can't say that I have.
I don't think many people get called the Mark DeRosa. I don't think Mark DeRosa gets called the Mark DeRosa of anything.
Well,
So basically what we're going to do here on the podcast is we're going to talk about the week that was on the Best Damn Sports Show, period, and talk about what went into what you saw on the air, some of the stuff that didn't make air, and some of the stories that happened behind the scenes in the green room. There's always some good stuff that's taking place there. So we'll talk about it all, and hopefully at some point we'll get some viewer feedback, and we can answer your questions. So let's talk about Tuesday's show. So Tuesday, Keyshawn Johnson came in to guest host along with Coach Calipari. We always like when those two are here. They always have their opinions, Keyshawn especially, and Coach Cal, being a good friend of the show, he always comes with great opinions. So,
am I wrong in that Keyshawn is just he just seems very angry, right? is he a very angry guy? And I'm not really sure why.
I think that I don't know. Yeah, I guess he does seem that way.
On our show, guests come on knowing what to expect. We're just a fun show, and a lot of times we'll have guests do some extra stuff, and they'll help us out with some skits. Keyshawn.
So you think he comes not wanting to play ball?
He just comes. He's give me my couple topics to talk about, and then I'm out of here. Whereas other people like to hang out. They like to really interact with the show, and Keyshawn he's very businesslike.
Wow, we're no more than 2 minutes into this podcast, and you are already ripping Keyshawn Johnson.
Well.
It's gonna be fun.
It was a little. Maybe I'm just getting him back because he called us a waste of space.
Well, he's not the first person, though. I will say this. I think that sometimes Keyshawn comes by, and he is very, very opinionated. I think no matter what he does, he's always opinionated. I think today, or Tuesday, he was, his opinions were not as he wasn't as outspoken, I think, as he usually is.
I'm not trying to say he doesn't have opinions. He always brings something to the table.
Well, listen, Keyshawn at 50% is still better than some people at 95%.
Without calling out names, yes, that's very much true.
Yeah,
very much true. Very much true.
So anyway, we had Keyshawn and Cal on, who always make for great TV. All right, also on Tuesday's show, we had Phil Locke and Antonio Esfandiari were there. Now, I love these guys. I think that anytime they're on a poker show, high-stakes poker, I'm watching. I think that they're fun together. They're best friends, and they are guys that have a friendly rivalry. And, they're always joking with each other. They're good TV, basically. Not a lot of poker players are good TV. Some are, some aren't. These two are. And I will always watch them.
It's funny is that obviously they make their living gambling. But until you actually talk to them, in person, you don't get really the idea of the degenerate, how much they really enjoy to gamble. In fact, behind the scenes, you were telling him, getting him ready for the Best Damn Bets You segment, where they're supposed to do a little wager on air.
Right.
And then, without even hesitating, Antonio goes to Phil, oh yeah, and we're going to have a $2,000 side bet on all of these bets.
Yeah,
which is unbelievable.
We should let's preface this by saying, they came on to promote their show, I Bet You, which is kind of, I guess I would call it Jackass light. They kind of dare each other, bet each other to do certain kinds of things that you'd see on Jackass, take away the danger aspect of it. These guys, they're not getting hurt. They're wrestling alligators, but the alligators, mouths are wired shut. There's not going to be any biting involved. But if Steve-O were doing it, he'd have his head right in the alligator's mouth. So it's a fun show. But like I said, kind of Jackass light. That's how you should think about it. So when we booked them on the show, we figured, okay, well, we should have these guys bet on something that they can do out on our show. So whenever we have a guest book, there's always a pre-interview involved. And I talked to both Phil and Antonio. And I said to them, look, we want to do this thing where you bet each other on the show. I said, what can we do that's kind of fun, very visual? Obviously, we're doing TV, so we want to make it pretty visual. And Antonio's suggestion was, well, I can do one-arm push-ups. This was the first thing that he came back with. And, maybe I bet with John Sally. He says, no, I bet you can't do more than 2 one-arm push-ups. He says, well, I bet I can. how much do we bet? I said, all right, well, I guess that's okay. I was kind of hoping for something, a little bit better, a little more visual. One-arm push-ups, who can't do a one-arm push-up? Actually, I probably can't do a one-arm push-up. But anyway, so I sent those guys some other suggestions. I said, how about you bet the other, you lose a bet, you shave your head. I thought that'd be pretty good. If one of them wants to shave their head on TV, that'd be great. Another was we stick a piece of duct tape to their chest, and they have to yank it off, pulling out some of their chest hair. Something like that. Something where you can actually see the pain in their face. So there's something, to be lost here by losing this bet. And one of the other things, there's always, eating challenges. That's like the old Fear Factor staple. So I said, we can have them eat worms or grasshoppers or something like that. But basically, I wanted to pick something that they wouldn't want to do normally. One-arm push-ups, who cares?
Big
pretty
deal.
much. Right.
Who cares if Antonio can do that?
So, these are the suggestions I sent, and I got some responses back from them. And, Antonio was cool with some stuff and not cool with other stuff. He didn't want to shave his head. He said he didn't want to shave any part of his body. So that was out. Phil agreed. But one of the things that they wanted to do were, they said, okay, well, we'll eat worms or, something like that. We've never done that on our show, so yeah, maybe we'll try it on yours. So I said, cool. So they show up. They're hanging out in the green room, and I'm telling them, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do two things. First, we're going to see if one of you can withstand a John Sally slap to the face. Now, it sounds good, or maybe I'm wrong. I thought it sounded good. The idea of Sally really letting it go and slapping one of these guys in the face, who wants that? If you're Phil or Antonio, you don't want to be on the receiving end of that. So I thought, okay, well, that's one good one, and then, we'll do the eating of the worms. So basically, it was going to be, okay, we'll flip a coin. The loser of the coin flip has to do these dares. What it turned out to be was Chris Rose will hold a poker chip in one hand. He's got nothing in the other, and, pick a hand, Phil. And if you pick the wrong hand, you lose, and then you have to, take a John Sally slap to the face or eat some worms. So, in theory, it all sounds good. And then we get to the actual segment, and, we're going fine. 5 minutes in, I'm thinking this is good. It's good TV. These guys are fun together, and I'm pretty interested. And then we get to the portion of the segment which we call Best Damn Bets You, and Chris Rose puts the poker chip in one hand and holds his hands out and says, all right, Phil, you pick a hand. And
this is where it came off the tracks.
This is where it got interesting. And by interesting, I mean not interesting, because it took them, I would say, a good 90 seconds. Hemming and hawing, which hand should I pick? Well, wait a minute. Why would you let him pick a hand? Antonio can't pick the hand because he's a magician and he can spot the tell. And, well, why would he get to go first, and maybe I should get to go first? And honestly, it went on for 90 seconds. And, when you're sitting in the control room watching this stuff, 90 seconds feels like 15 minutes. And, it's one of the only times I wanted to run out from the control room out onto the set and be like, pick a hand, please.
I think maybe Phil just got a little nervous. Actually, he finally found out who John Sally was sitting next to him. When you have a 7-footer next to you and realize that there's a 50-50 chance you're going to take a face shot from him, I don't know.
Yeah, that's another thing, by the way. These guys, admittedly not big sports fans and did not know who John Sally was. So when I first pitched the idea of getting slapped in the face by John Sally, I don't think it quite registered, and then they get there and they see, 7-foot-tall John Sally standing there. It's quite a different thing. But anyway, so, if you've seen the segment earlier in the week, you're probably thinking, well, wait, I don't remember them actually, doing the thing with the hand and it going on 90 seconds. Well, that's because sometimes in post-production we actually lose some time from segments.
The magic of TV.
We lost a good chunk of that part of the segment just because it wasn't fun to watch. And, the bet portion of it, Sally didn't really slap Antonio all that hard. It wasn't that great. So, the interview up to that point, I thought was pretty good. The guys were fun, but then the bet part, and then Antonio eating the worms. I mean, he seemed to, I would have trouble with it. He seemed to have a lot of trouble with it and was gagging a little bit and just didn't come out, I think, the way we'd hoped.
Well, we did have a millionaire eat a worm on TV.
We did do that. And look, they're great guys. They're a lot of fun. And, we definitely have them back on the show. I just either think we'd pick different bets, or definitely maybe do the coin flip next time. Lesson learned on that one. But by the way, I don't know if you caught this. Did you see the stack of money that Phil Locke had?
I did not see it.
So we're off to the side of the stage. This is before the segments. We're right about to tape. He takes a roll of cash. I mean, I'm guessing there's $5,000 there. It's a thick, thick roll. It's thicker than my wrist. And he says, oh, hey, can you hold this for me while I'm out there? I said, okay, sure. And then he thinks twice about it, and he said, no, I'll just keep it in my sock. I usually just keep my money in my sock. But it's a huge roll of cash. I think these guys just walk around with loads and loads of cash, betting each other all day, which is that's an interesting way to live.
Well, when you're routinely betting on coin flips and who's going to walk out of a door, $20,000 on that, I think you're just going to need, it's ridiculous.
Must be fun.
it's one way to live.
Yeah, he's got a roll of $100 bills in his sock, and he's dating Jennifer Tilly. I'd say that's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Not bad. All right, so one of the other things we did on Tuesday, we re-aired the NFL Draft Wrap. We aired it for the first time last week, right before the weekend, before the draft took place. And this is something that Bernie and I have done. If you don't know, we're the two people who do the rapping in the video.
Yeah.
We did it 2 years ago. And we did it again this year, and it was called On the Clock, and Bernie wrote the majority of the song. So, Bernie, why don't you...
Jason, don't sell yourself short. You did.
I wrote one verse. And I was pretty happy with that. Next year, maybe I'll graduate to 2 verses and maybe a bit of the chorus. But, yeah. So, talk to us about what goes into writing a song like that or a rap like that, how long it takes you. And maybe we could talk about what our favorite cameos were in that video.
Well, yeah, this version of the rap was a little harder in that we really wanted to get a lot of cameos in there.
And it wasn't so much about us doing the rapping. It was more about the rookies and NFL superstars and random celebrities taking part in it.
Let's get these players. Let's highlight these players. Really, it was a very deep draft. But it wasn't a lot of very A-list kind of people. Like 2 years ago, we had Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart. Everyone, those are people everyone knows. So really, what we wanted to do is get as much face time as we could. And our great booking department here at Best Damn does a great job of getting all the NFL draftees in. So basically, when I was going to write this, I wanted to be as factually based as possible. So we get the list of people: Darren McFadden, Deshaun Jackson, Vernon Golston. And you just start reading every article, every interview you can. You find something, and
a lot of Wikipedia searches.
A lot of stuff like that. You want to find some interesting nuggets about these people. For example, I found on an interview that Cedric Ellis from USC is a big fan of The Christmas Story. So I wanted to incorporate in the rap that he's a big fan of A Christmas Story. And then we had the great leg lamp, if you've seen the movie. When the family gets that leg lamp and it comes in the fragile box, but the dad reads it as fragile because he doesn't really know what's going on. So basically that's where that line came from. That's basically what we tried to do. It took so long to write just because I wanted it to be as factually accurate as possible.
It really did. It took you about 6 weeks.
Yeah. I could only get through 4 lines a day. But luckily we got a lot of cameos, a lot of drafted players.
Yeah, and, the fun part is, when these rookies come in and they're seeing their lines for the first time, and they're kind of getting the sense that, okay, we want them to be a part of this rap video. I think it's the first time that any of them have been in a rap video, and I think they think it's pretty cool. I think they had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they didn't have fun with it, I don't think we'd be able to get Darren McFadden to put on a wig and start dancing around for us. And
Yeah, these guys are real good sports.
They're
Darren
very
McFadden
good.
Especially. The guy put on a rainbow clown wig and actually rapped the line in the song, which was
very great.
Which was one of my favorite bits. So that was great. And as far as some of the other cameos go, we had Jerry Rice in there, we had Eddie George in there,
Michael
Irvin in there, which was great. Michael, of course, having been a host on the show. And Kim Kardashian.
That was the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I mean, writing that, the first time I wrote in Kim Kardashian into the rap, which was for Kenny Phillips and Aqib Talib, making a bigger D backfield than Kim Kardashian. I didn't actually expect her to be in the video, but as luck would have it, she was booked 2 weeks later, and she was very, very, very sweet. She was
that's
very
one
nice.
of those where just it all happened to work out, and you could see Kim coming in and saying, okay, so you want me to be in a rap song where you've got a couple of lines about my ass. Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking probably not. But, I think here's somebody that kind of recognizes, who she is and why she's famous and is a real good sport about it. And, it just seemed like she wanted to have a good time.
Yeah, she even said, "Thank you for thinking of me and putting me in this rap," which I thought was, I don't know if she was just blowing smoke. But
yeah, the best part was that when we were actually shooting the video, she's standing in the middle of Bernie and I, and she's actually suggesting, okay, well, maybe we should start out with my butt to the camera, and then I'll turn around seductively. I'm like, wow, you get it.
She's totally into it, and she just has definitely a good sense of self-awareness and of everything going on with her and why she's famous.
Not only that, but now Bernie and I can say we were in an internet video with Kim Kardashian.
That's right, and my face was about 4 inches away from her booty.
Well, there you go. So I hope you enjoyed the draft wrap that aired on Tuesday's show. So Wednesday's show, we had Cal back to guest host. And Sean Phillips came in. Sean guest hosted Wednesday and Friday's show, and we had Kevin Millar on the phone in the Wednesday in our A block in the top of the show. Sometimes we do these segments called Checking In With, where we call athletes and celebrities, and really we ask them one question: what are you doing at this exact moment? And, it's based on the premise that you're probably sitting around sometimes, with your friends, and you're thinking, boy, I wonder what Ken Griffey Jr. is doing right now. I know what I'm doing. I'm sitting here watching, Top Chef. But what is Ken Griffey Jr. doing right now? So that's why we do it. And, every now and then we call guys, and their answers are hilarious. And then every now and then we call guys, and their answers are, more mundane. And I would say Kevin Millar kind of fell into the more mundane category.
Well, to be fair, it was we called him before.
You're about to be a Baltimore Orioles apologist.
Well, they are. At the time, they were in first place, and he's an everyday player, and he's just getting ready for the game. When we called him, he said he was in the room about to be taped up, or what was it, in the film room?
He said he was getting taped up.
Yeah, that's what it was. And he was getting taped up.
Yeah.
What do you expect him to be doing before a game? He's got to get ready.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, we've called a whole bunch of people in the past. Artie Lang, we called. We said, what are you doing right now at this exact moment? And his answer was doing steroids. And it was funny. And, of course, he wasn't sitting there doing steroids for real, but, he that's what he said he was doing.
Well, he's also a comedian.
Well, hang on. We had Jimmy Kimmel on once. This was my favorite. This is probably the best one we did. We call up Jimmy Kimmel, and we say, what are you doing right now at this exact moment? And he said, I am doing a new drawing of Rob Dibble. So it's hilarious, and we hang up the phone, and we're all talking, and we're thinking, is he actually doing a new drawing of Rob Dibble, or is he just, screwing around and kind of making it up like Artie was? But what should come across the fax machine about an hour later? Jimmy Kimmel's nude drawing of Rob Dibble, which I thought was great. But anyway, back to Millar. Yeah, he's getting taped up. Great. I mean, I could have told you that. It's an hour before the game. I wanted something better.
Well, maybe next time we'll prep and say make something up. I guess that's what we have to prep all our guests is say, just make something up, if it's not very interesting.
It wouldn't be the first time. We had Phil Jackson on that show on Wednesday. And, the thing I liked about Phil, I hadn't heard him actually talk about the Kobe jumping over the Aston Martin. I hadn't heard him talk about that anywhere. And the thing that I found interesting, he said that the first time he saw it was at halftime of a game that they were playing in. Yep. So I found that really good.
Well, I would hope that he wouldn't be naive enough to believe that that's actually real. Though.
Some people thought it was real.
I can't believe that for a second.
I can't either, but some people, I won't name names, some people on our staff saw that for the first time and said, holy, he's jumping over an Aston Martin. But, yeah, not. Come on, not real. Not real. Later on Wednesday's show, this was my favorite segment of the week. We had Will Leach on from Deadspin.com. Now, the night before, and, sometimes we get lucky with our bookings and we just get somebody right in the middle of this firestorm. And, we got lucky with Will Leach in that the night before he appeared on Costas Now. And they did that town hall. And they had Will Leach on with Buzz Bissinger, Pulitzer Prize-winning writer Buzz Bissinger, and Braylon Edwards. And they basically talked about blogging for 7 or 8 minutes. Or at least that was the intention of the segment. But really what happened was that Buzz Bissinger went nuts on Will Leach for about 7 or 8 minutes and really ambushed him from the get-go. And, it was there was a whole a whole shitstorm came because of that. And, we're lucky enough to have Will Leach on the day after that. So everybody's talking about it, and here we go. We've got Will Leach on. So, I thought that was great timing. And I thought that it was one of the better segments that we've done in a really long time, because whereas you didn't get an intelligent discussion about blogging and about Deadspin and what they do and what Will does on Costas Now, I felt like you really got that on our show. And, with a wide-ranging group of people. I mean, Rose and Sal are there, obviously, but you had Coach Calipari out there in the segment, and and Sean Phillips as well. And I thought we were really able to get to the crux of the issue and let Will make some pretty good and salient points. And I think we made some good points as well. But it was a discussion, and I don't think you got that on Costas. And I think it really came across well, and I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah, very much so. And to be fair, when you want intelligent dialogue and open dialogue, you don't go to Bob Costas. You go to the best. Clearly, you go to Best Damn Sports Show. Period.
Who knew?
Where we're gonna outsmart Costas, which is incredible. But that's the real truth of it. Where you just got a lot of yelling and screaming and name calling, and on our show we just had points, and we had both sides of the spectrum. We had mainstream media and Rose. We had an athlete in Sean Phillips. We had a coach in John Calipari, and we had a sports blogger in Will Leach, and it turned out great.
Yeah, it did turn out great. I said to Will, that Bissinger on the Costa show reminded me of Don Zimmer coming out to fight Pedro. I said he was like a wrestler. Right after the bell, he just picked up the folding chair and hit Will over the head with it, like bam, right out of the gate.
To be honest, Buzz just came across as a guy that was afraid of what was going to happen.
He came across as a dick. It's basically what it was.
I think he was a little jealous.
And it's a real shame. I know Will said this too, but Buzz is a guy. I've read Friday Night Lights, 3 Nights in August. I mean, he's a fantastic writer, but it just seems like he's so out of touch with blogging and the whole blogosphere. He just doesn't get it. He's like my grandfather who wants me to turn the music down because it's just a different generation, and it made me sad more than anything else. So, but anyway, that was Wednesday's show.
Wait, back to Will Leach for one second. Would you say that with all the pre-show discussions about Will's segment, one of the more polarizing figures that we've had on in quite a while?
Because some people really like what he does. Some people don't like what he does and what Deadspin does, and we definitely talked a lot about the segment beforehand. I mean, we talk about every segment beforehand, but the Will Leach segment in particular. We sat around for hours really talking about how we wanted to go about this and, the questions we wanted our guys to ask. And, I think we did it the right way. Sometimes we hit a home run and sometimes we ground out to third. And I think we hit a home run with that one.
Yeah, I was a little bit hesitant. At first I was against having him on. Not that I don't read Deadspin and I don't enjoy it and I think it's funny, but I think we're part of the mainstream media, whereas he's part of the sports blogging world, and
right.
Crossing that line can get kind of hairy. But having him on I think it was important and relevant to what's going on in the media world today.
Well, and I hope he comes back on the show soon next time he's in Los Angeles, because he was a good guest.
Very much so.
Friday show, Cal and Sean Phillips back guest hosting, and in the A block at the top of the show, we finally talked to Cal about what happened in the NCAA championship game. Which is, it's tough because obviously it's the elephant in the room. You have to talk to him about it. It's the one thing that everybody wants to hear about. But he's such a good friend of our show that you hate putting these questions out to him. You hate asking him this stuff, but you need to. And I think he handled it well and answered the questions kind of like you'd expect him to, for sure.
Cal's a pro.
He's certainly a pro. Yeah. So we definitely we covered that in the A block of the show. And we had Darren McFadden on the show that day, and we got to play back his bit in the NFL draft rap, which was fun. But he'd seen it before. Heard he liked it very much.
He loved it. He's great. He's got to do it some more. We'll have him in another song.
Yeah, exactly. And then for baseball fans, we had and I in particular I love these segments. We had Goose Gossett on, soon to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we had Joe West on. It's you rarely see a major league umpire come on a talk show. I don't think I've ever seen a major league umpire come on a talk show who's currently an umpire. I mean, sometimes it's guys after they retire, they come on, they talk about the game. But Joe West is a current major league umpire, and he came on and he's like the Forrest Gump of baseball. He's been a part of so many great moments in the game. You know, he's tossed Bobby Cox from a World Series game. He's been there for no-hitters, perfect games. So, you know, there was, exactly. There was just a lot to talk about with Joe. And, you know, he was a great guy. In fact, you know, rarely does this happen, but the segment's over. I get back to my desk, and I've got a voicemail, and it's from Joe West. And he says, hey, thanks. I wanted to let you know I had a great time on the show. And if you could, I want to know the names of all the staffers and camera people that helped out with the segment, because I want to send them a copy of my CD. Wow. And I want to tell them thank you and how much I appreciated it. So, you know, that's pretty classy right there.
That's very much classy. I didn't know that. I had no idea about that.
You don't get that from many guests. You know, as nice as Kim Kardashian was, I didn't get a phone call on my voicemail afterwards saying, hey, can you thank the guy that shot me in camera 3? You don't really, you don't get that very often.
Cowboy Joe.
Cowboy Joe. Who knew he was not only a country western singer? I guess some people knew that. I didn't know that. But he was on promoting, and this is the first time this has happened in Best Damn. He promoted a spoken word album. It's the first time we've ever had a guest come on and talk about that.
He's just a talented guy. Can call balls and strikes and can make CDs.
Exactly. So so that was the week that was on the Best Damn Sports Show period. Hope you liked it. I think we did some fun stuff. And next week, we should have some great shows. LaDainian Tomlinson is going to be on the show, which is always good. Kenny Mayne is coming on the show. Did you watch Dancing with the Stars, Bernie?
I do not, but I've seen his futile performances on there.
Well, he's the first person ever ousted from Dancing with the Stars, and also I happened to be watching it with my wife this weekend, or this past week on Monday, and he was wearing glitter on his eyes, so we definitely need to ask him about that. Oh, Braylon Edwards is going to be here in studio. Now, you know, obviously we'll talk to him about you know, the Browns offseason and the NFL and stuff like that. But, you know, the thing I want to talk to him about, he was sitting up there with Will Leach and Buzz Bissinger. He watched the carnage that was that segment on Costas Now and really looked like, you know, he looked like a deer in the headlights. He didn't know what to do. So we'll definitely talk to Braylon about that. Chuck D from Public Enemy
I know you're excited
is coming
about that.
on Best Damn.
I know you're excited about that.
I can't wait for that segment. And then here's another one that I can't wait for. Former Mets closer John Franco. I'm a big Mets fan. More than 400 saves. Get this guy in the Hall of Fame already.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to John Franco. So it should be a good week. And listen, if you got any feedback or questions for Bernie and I to handle on the next podcast, why don't you email us? I'm going to give you my email address. It's jcahill. That's JCAHILL @foxsports.net.
Wow.
So you have a question yeah, exactly.
Wow. Gave out your email.
I just gave out my email address.
Wow.
Well, that could be a test as to how many people are actually listening to this podcast. I think the over-under on emails I'm expecting to get is 2. And one of them better not be from you.
Right.
So there it is, jcahill @foxsports.net. If you got a question about the podcast, about the show, something that you want us to cover in future weeks, and we'll do it.
Also, you guys are probably listening on MySpace right now, too. You can message us through there. I'm running that, checking messages every day. So if you can't remember Cahill's personal email address, you can message us through the page.
Now, Bernie, do you want to give your email address out so that Keyshawn Johnson knows where to get a hold of you?
No, he can just get a hold of me through MySpace. I didn't say I didn't like him. I just said he's just very gruff. Very gruff guy. That's one way to go, though. You don't have to be the nicest guy in the world.
All right, there you go. So thanks again for listening. This has been the Best Damn Sports Show podcast. Tune in next week.